This one is going out to my student who got frustrated and said, I'm tired of losing to the Stafford Gambit. So when I am trying to bust a sketchy opening, I don't want to have to learn or memorize a lot of theory. I want a simple linear response so I don't have a lot of branches, because let's be honest, for rare sidelines, I don't want to waste a lot of time learning them. So let's see what I came up with against the Stafford. And you can get into some serious trouble versus this opening, as popular streamer and YouTuber Eric Rosen shows. He's a big fan of the Stafford, and it does have venom if white doesn't know what they're doing, because there are ideas with very quick attacks on weak squares going after f2. So black can get some quick wins, and that's what my student fell into. So understanding that everything revolves around this attack on f2, let's stop it. So first and foremost, our e-pawn is hit. I'm just going to defend the e-pawn with d3. Bishop c5, looking for that potential to next use g4 to some degree to line up to hit f2 again. Now the main line in the database is 6 bishop e2. You get development as well as cover that square. And by engine estimation, it works out to be +3. But I'm going to go with a rare move which ends the conversation on the Stafford. f3. It looks awkward. This is breaking principles, but it just completely kills all counterplay and is going to give us a time with a very simple plan and memory marker to push black back, make their position awkward, and it'll lead to us just being a clean pawn up with little to no counterplay to the opponent. Before we continue with the main game, let's take a look at that bishop e2 line and why I would reject the main line compared to the f3. So bishop e2, h5, looking again to secure g4. A key theme that is going to be seen in my game as well as the main line, c3. You're looking to play d4 to shut down the eye of that bishop. Knight g4, queen h4, queen f6, and finally f3. And again, this is winning for white, but you miss a single move, you lose. And especially if you're playing bullet or blitz at 3-0, it's easy to miss these moves, and this is why a Stafford Gambit player plays the opening to start with. f3, it just ends the conversation. There's no use to the g4 square, but out of habit, my opponent plays h5, and I go with that thematic plan that is so important. We need to shut down the eye of the bishop. And since black no longer has an e-pawn to have control over the center, c3 cannot be stopped. Bishop e6, d4, getting the full center, gaining a tempo on the bishop, and now finally, with my pawn in hand, I can begin development, get castled, get my king safe. Should be easy going from this point. So it's just this combination of d3 and f3, and that's it for the Stafford. So coming back to the main game, bishop e3, followed by knight d2. I'm looking to utilize the c4 square in some degree. So castles by my opponent. Not sure what's going on with a5. This is very encouraging for my attack later if I'm looking to make a pawn lever. But in the meantime, I just keep tension and say, hey, I may castle queenside as well. Takes, eyeing the potential to capture on b6 at some point. And after queen e6, castles. Finally, my opponent plays bishop a7, but that leaves a pawn that I cannot resist. My king feels a bit safer than my opponent's, knight c4. If you check, I'm simply going to c2. I did that anyway because I am looking to utilize that open A file, which is why I didn't have a problem at all with giving the A pawn or trading the A pawns. And again, what is black doing? All the pieces are on great squares, but without a pawn lever, without a break, there's no concrete plan where I'm just slowly improving and I have this monstrous pawn wall. Queen A4 check, stop that. If they check on A2, I'll just block with the knight. So Queen B5. And I am looking to end the game here, and my opponent had pre-moved and played a quick move here, and this is about as bad as it gets. So white to play and end the game pretty abruptly. Hopefully the tactic jumped out at you. Knight D6 check, giving up the knight to win the queen, and my opponent resigned. Hopefully you enjoyed this quick video facing the Stafford Gambit.